Hi and welcome to Miranda Made. In today's video, we're going to be sewing toys from 1944. There are a variety of animals and even a little boy and girl that can be made. Unfortunately, this video would have been very long for me to make all of them. So I'm going to show you how I sewed step by step. First the elephant, and then a quick run through, less detailed, of the penguin. But you'll also get to take a look at the cute little rabbit that I made, even though it wasn't on video. I hope you're going to enjoy this video. It's unique and special, and I think it makes a great gift for somebody who's going to be having a baby or for a young child. So many people make quilts and blankets, and those are wonderful, but what if you made a quilt or a baby blanket and then added a stuffed toy? This would make your gift stand out because nobody else is going to be doing that. And it's so easy to do. All right, let's go ahead and jump into that video. The first thing that I did was to go ahead and review all instructions. So there are basic instructions that pertain to all of the designs, and then there are specific instructions for each one of the animals. And you can really see them in the pictures. So the first animal that I made was the elephant. So here are the instructions. You can see I underlined some things, circled some things that I wanted to remember. And of course, I'm going to put down below in the description a link to the Etsy shop where you can purchase this PDF for 99 cents. And then I went ahead and took the pattern pieces and I made copies of them because, as you can see, they overlap to save space. So instead of drawing them out, I went ahead and made copies and cut the copies out. And then I cut out scrap fabric. This is also a great scrap fabric project. I did not need to buy anything. Every pattern's about 1/4 of a yard to 1/2 of a yard. So you can piece even things together for like the long band strip. If I didn't have a long enough piece, I just stitched it together. So here are all my pieces, and I added that red kind of heart-shaped earpiece for the inside of the ear. It's not on the original pattern, but it does mention that you can add it in if you want. Okay, so the first thing I did was stitch those ears with the red fabric inside, and I did a little bit of a stitch design here with red and blue thread. And I liked how it turned out. And then here I stitched on the eyes with some buttons, and I went ahead and marked where the ears and the legs go. You can also use embroidery thread for the eye design. I just simply chose to use buttons because it was easy for me. And then I took the strip of fabric that you have to cut that makes them kind of 3D, and I went ahead and stitched it to one side, and I did this by hand. The pattern really recommends sewing by hand. Although it says you can use a machine, it's much more difficult because it's small, and you want to make sure you get these sides lined up perfectly. And then of course you're going to pull it through, so you leave a little space on the band, that way you can stuff it and then close it up. The elephant actually wasn't that hard because of its round shape. It made stitching it a lot easier than some of the ones that have very narrow sections. I would recommend doing the elephant first. Okay, so here we have him stuffed and stitched up underneath the trunk. And he's got his eyes, so now we're going to go ahead and stitch on his ears. And then after I stitched on his ears, I thought, let's make him a little more special. So I had this beautiful ribbon, and I made a bow, and I stitched on a bow underneath his trunk to give him a bit of character. This was not in the original design, but I thought, what the heck, it's very cute. I want to do it. On to the legs. So I stitched the legs also by hand. Here I did like a back stitch to make it a bit stronger. And then you got to stuff them, and then you're going to attach the bottom piece, which is also a little bit tricky, but doable. I did kind of like a whip stitch for that section. And here we go. I've got his legs stitched on with buttons. that are just stated right in the directions. You go straight through one leg to the other leg. So it's very simple. That way you can move his joints and he can stand up. And then I added a little red piece to the end of his trunk. I thought he turned out really well, although I still need to give him a tail. Well, maybe he'll be tailless, we'll see. Isn't he so cute? So I'm gonna also show you here a project I did before, about a year or two ago, when I first got this pattern. So here is the bunny. This was the very first animal I made with this pattern. She turned out cute. I added a little bow to the top of her head. I embroidered her eyes, nose, and mouth. And then I made this little jumper apron for her, which was not included with the pattern. So yeah, actually it may have been 2 or 3 years ago that I got this pattern and I first made her, but I didn't, that was before I was doing YouTube much. So the bunny also is really, really cute. And you can add extra little details. All right, let me go on and show you the penguin. Right here is where I would have put me sewing the pig, but the pig was an epic fail. And I think I should tell you that because as sewists, we're always learning, right? And not every project works out perfectly. What happened was there's a band that goes around all of the animals except for the penguin. And of course, I didn't get it lined up perfectly. So it was kind of leaning to the right. And
pretty bad, isn't it?
It went from there to worse. The pig just didn't work out for me. So I can either start over on that one or I'll probably just not make her because I don't know. I'll move on to something else. But you know, we all have things that don't always go well for us, and I think we should show those imperfections even if we're making a YouTube video because, hey, we've all been there. That's a good comment. If there's something that has been an epic fail for you, tell me about it. I want to know about your sewing journey too. All right, let's move on to the penguin now. After cutting out all of the pattern pieces, I went ahead and started with the wings for the penguin. So the wings here are made of 2 tones of fabric. The inside can be like a white, the outside a black, or I didn't have black and white fabric. So I made him out of a blue and a blue-green fabric, which turned out really cute. So I tried this one on the machine instead of sewing it by hand. And it worked out fine. I just had to work very, very slowly. The instructions recommend sewing it by hand, and I think that's because you have more control, especially when you're creating those curves. And because the seam allowance is quite small. But I found that the wings were fine using the machine. But for the actual main body form, I did stitch it also by hand. I didn't have any actual matching thread, so I went with a pink color to match the feet. And I think it turned out okay. Step by step, little by little. Slowly, slowly. I've sped it up here, so it won't take forever. But yeah, definitely it took some time. Okay, so after that, let me show you also. I already have the feet. I already stitched them around and then stuffed them with a little bit of cotton and then sewed them together. So they're just going to be attached to the body. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the wings. But I don't want to stuff them too much because they are wings. I don't want them to be really fat. And I did clip off the corners so that I could turn the corners a little bit easier. For the penguin, I would say stitching on the beak and then also turning these pointy little wing edges might have been the most challenging part. So it took a lot of finagling. I would stick my pinky finger in there and then I finally got out this large
sewing needle, or more like probably for yarn and things like that, to really get those corners without, you don't want to poke your stitches through, so you show the raw edges, so you have to do it very carefully. But I found that this large needle helped with that corner. So I just stuffed it little by little, working it down to the bottom, because I want to, again, keep the wings nice and thin. I don't want them to be real thick. I want them to still be like wings. And then at the top, I just folded it over, and I'm gonna whip stitch it closed. And then I moved on to the body. So there are 2 side pieces that you stitch to the belly. There is no band for the penguin, which I like. The band, I think, is a bit of a hassle because it's such a narrow piece of fabric. So after I got the body all finished, I went ahead and stuffed it. And then I picked out some pink striped buttons to use for the eyes. And I thought this will be really cute with the pink feet. The next part I did was the beak. And I started by just pressing the edges so that I could stitch them on easily. And the beak is a little bit challenging because it's such small pieces of fabric. That always makes the work a little bit difficult. But I was happy with how it turned out. So I've got it stuffed and stitched on. And yeah, he's not perfect, but I really like the way he turned out even so. I have to say, if you want the easiest animal, the penguin might be the easiest. And then I stitched on his cute little feet. Oh, so cute. And I thought, okay, he needs a little decoration. It's cold out. Let's make him a scarf with this velvet lined ribbon that I had. So I just cut a piece of that and tied it to stick around his little neck. I thought it turned out really cute, and I just put him with all of the quilts that I had made, the baby blankets I had made, on a little dresser. So let me show you them. Here they are together.
Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video. Your viewership makes this channel possible, and I want it to be a community atmosphere here. So please take a minute to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you enjoy sewing. Please tell me what projects you're working on because I want to get to know you as well. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.